Hello, I'm Max Field, and I'm working on a project that's tentatively named DiploMATIC. It's an adjudicator bot for the board game Diplomacy. I was previously working on a project called Virtual with Colin Rice, but about 3 weeks ago we decided to abandon it because of legal issues, and I'm sure you've heard him talk about it. Anyway, Diplomacy is a strategic board game based in Europe in 1900, and players control 7 players control 7 nations and negotiate their way into capturing all of Europe. It's vaguely like Risk, and the number of territories you control affects how many armies and fleets you have. But instead of being a military simulation where you're rolling to see who takes over, every unit has equal strength, and you have to win by maneuvering and lying to people and things like that. And it's a lot of fun. It's very popular to play over the internet because it's asynchronous and there's lots of skullduggery and secret agents and stuff. But doing so requires someone to spend a lot of time figuring out what happens every game and drawing a pretty board like this. So this is a sample game from a forum I'm on. This is the starting board. That's the wrong arrow. Here you see players. Right here, these 2 fleets will try and move into the Black Sea and then bounce. That unit successfully moves. More units move, then at the result of this turn, you see that more territories are taken and armies are added. It continues on. There's fancy things like here you have a unit with support attacking an area, which causes it to capture it, and such. And there's about 20 different rules to explain all the various complex situations that come up. But in its core, it's a relatively simple game. So the project needs to be able to parse orders that different people submit, determine what happens each round, and hopefully make a nice pretty map like that. And maybe in the future I'll try and build a simple website for submitting orders. So I started working on the rendering side because that seemed to be necessary for debugging the rest of it. And I was going to use GIMP to draw it. I started out, I looked into scripting with GIMP, and the internet said, oh, you want to use Perl. And like GIMP website said, oh, you want to use Perl. But it turns out that all the documentation for using Perl with GIMP is 10 years old. The newest documentation. So I lost a lot of my life to that and realized it wasn't going forward. So I switched to Python, which has somewhat recent documentation. And I had to learn both of those. So map itself. Here you have a simple map, and you can turn off various levels of it. All the pieces and names and stuff are in different layers, so it's easy to recolor and add arrows. It might be hard to see, but I have little paths for where various arrows are going to go, where all the units are going to show up, things like that. So it's very easy to just say, hey, put a unit here, draw an arrow from here to here, etc. So interface is just simple text files. You'll give it one text file that says, hey, we're on turn 3. There's units here, here, and here. These territories are controlled by these people. Then you'll give it another interface that, okay, these are the orders that everyone submitted, do your thing. Then it'll output a new file showing what the end result of the map is and instructions for the rendering side. So I really have to finish the rendering. It's complicated and documentation's hard and new languages are hard. And then I'm going to design data structures for storing the state of the map and an algorithm for resolving things. And once I have the rendering side down, that should be a lot easier because I like playing around with algorithmic problems. And maybe even make a website. So yeah, I've been working on this for a few weeks, but it's only starting to take shape as I figure out what I need to learn and what tools I need to use for this. I'm going to try and finish rendering and the GIMP side of things this week so I can dig into the algorithm the remaining 2 weeks or so before the school year starts. I don't plan on making this an RCOS project in the fall. Thanks to Professor Morthy, Professor Goldschmidt, Shauna Sylvan, RCOS, and Colin Rice for being a faithful partner during the first half of the summer. Any questions? What's up?